What is good, YouTube? Warstu here with a video on the Fantastic Four alleged post-credit scene. So, following on from the leaked post-credit scene that we know about the Thunderbolts, this now makes absolutely complete sense. So there's a bit of backstory of where this information actually comes from, and I think this would be the most insane post-credit scene ever if it is true, and also it's coming from a pretty reliable source. So what is freaking good, YouTube? Warstu here. If you are new around here, make subscribe to never miss any of the Marvel, DC, casual, monsterverse, pop culture based content that I try to deliver on a daily basis. Could subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, and let me know how freaking excited are you for the Fantastic Four movie. We are finally getting the Fantastic Four Marvel MCU, Marvel Studios movie that's not the 20th Century Fox Fantastic Four. Also, if you could, subscribe to the channel and all the other good stuff. Also, if you want to see the beautiful face man and beautiful voice, check us out on Instagram at Warstu. I also have a channel over there that's approaching 800 members where I can post a lot of stuff that I can't post on YouTube, because with YouTube you've got to worry about copyright strikes and copyright claims when you include certain things. And also check us out on Twitter, WarstuG. It's my smallest platform by a mile. So this information is coming courtesy of a YouTuber, which I already think it's more viable than it's not coming from a fake ass scooper. It's coming from Denim Nerds Josh, who's been in the YouTube game probably about as long as me, maybe longer, I don't know. He's very credible when it comes to leaked information and stuff. He's not the original source for where the information started, but he's recently put a post up. Well, actually, GeekyCast put a post up and he sourced the Denim Nerds video, and it's interesting. So the original idea came from the fact that a few months ago, we covered it, where a bunch of the scoopers were saying, yo, Chris Evans is going to be in the movie, right? As we know, Chris Evans played Johnny Storm in Deadpool and Wolverine and was Vamos Chicoed, essentially, evaporated by, the controller of the Void, Cassandra Nova. So a lot of people thought, yo, we're getting a version of Chris Evans playing maybe the original Chris Evans, somehow returning the Infinity Stones, appearing in the Fantastic Four post-credit scene. But these post-credit scenes have to make sense now, because there's no setup for Doomsday realistically. Although the Thunderbolts post-credit scene is a setup, the Marvel's post-credit scene is a setup. So it has to make sense. So then people thought, oh, it's going to be Hydra Captain America. Again, it wouldn't make sense unless Dr. Doom's already appeared. So what Josh is saying is, and why I like this is because, not like Scoopers, he's not saying something out of context. Also, he said, take it with a pinch of salt, doesn't know the details. This is just what people are saying. As we know, Pedro Pascal recently posted that they were doing reshoots. So we know they're definitely doing reshoots for the Fantastic Four movie. That is 100% true. And we also know the Fantastic Four set is currently still up in London Pinewood Studios outside. So they might be doing some Fantastic Four scenes with the same New York setting, potentially, if that Earth doesn't get destroyed in that movie. So what Josh at Denim Nerds is saying is the context of Chris Evans appearing in the Fantastic Four movie. It's freaking wild. So allegedly the original Fantastic Four with Chris Evans, Jessica Alba, so on and so forth, will be appearing at the end in a post-credit scene. Now that would be interesting. Josh doesn't give any context of how it happens or anything like that. He does give some ideas, but it's just ideas, it's not factual information. As we know, when we cover scoops, leaks and all this kind of stuff, got to take it with a pinch of salt. But from what I understand, Josh has a pretty good track record when it comes to Marvel, DC, and especially Star Wars scoops. So this information is pretty cool. So as we know, it's got to be building up to Secret Wars. So what if the original Fantastic Four from the Fox universe are still alive, their universe has been destroyed, and potentially maybe they take their Fantastic Four ship and appear in whatever the Earth. We don't actually know what the Earth's called where the Fantastic Four are, and we don't know if the post-credits scene in the Fantastic Four is going to take place a year after the post-credits, a year after the actual movie of the Fantastic Four, because careful spoilers, but you're in a spoiler video. The post-credit scene for the Thunderbolts of the Fantastic Four appearing in the ship allegedly takes place just before Doomsday, 1 year after the Fantastic Four movie. So we don't actually know the prerequisite. That is the prerequisite, but we don't actually know the context. So Jessica Alba, Chris Evans appearing, that would be freaking insane. That really would be an interesting way to do a post-credit scene. So a lot of people were like thinking, yo, Robert Downey Jr.'s got to appear in the Fantastic Four movie, which I agree, it would make a lot of logical and narrative sense if that does happen. But the big problem is Robert Downey Jr., his contract to appear in Avengers 5 and 6, right? He's getting 50 mil for both movies. Then when they take over 750 box office, he gets kickback. He's also got, you know, a private plane to fly him anywhere. He's also got a security team. He's also literally got a whole trailer park to himself on the set. Okay, so do you really think, although the Fantastic Four set is technically up in London, well, not London, just outside of London, do you really think he's going to do a cameo for free? The problem with Robert Downey Jr. now is he makes that much money to get him to appear in either... Well, we know he's not in the we know he's not in the Thunderbolts movie now. To get him to appear in any Marvel project before this, it's going to cost him big money. I mean, sure, I think he deserves... Well, actually, no, hell no. He does not deserve 50... No one deserves $50 million for a movie. Let's be honest. Yes, I understand in every country outside of Dubai and like Bermuda that your taxes are going to basically be 50% of this. No one deserves $50 million for a movie. So... the problem we have now is whatever the post-credit scene is for Thunderbolts, it does set up Avengers Doomsday, and we know they didn't plan this, is they've got to add in some context, something for Doomsday. Otherwise, there's literally no setup, because we know they were doing the Kang storyline and they pivoted away, but the story's kind of a bit misleading and convoluted, because if they pivoted away and if Robert Downey Jr. was on board a year before he came out of San Diego Comic-Con last summer in 2024, why was there no build-up in any of the movies? Because, like I say, the post-credit scenes that only make sense now would actually be the Marvels, the Thunderbolts, and I guess could you remember the post-credit scene where we had the holograms of Captain Marvel, of Bruce Banner, saying there's a threat coming, there's a beacon. I mean, you could tie that back to Dr. Victor Von Doom if you technically wanted to. So if Josh is right, I hope he is, like I say. Also speaking to the boy Geeky Cass, who appeared on the channel the other day, he says Josh has got a very good track record when it comes to like information, but the fact that Josh doesn't go into context or give much away is interesting. Also, we've got to factor in there was a secret character on the set of the Fantastic Four movie who a lot of people thought was Robert Downey Jr., who a lot of people thought was the original from Chris Evans' Fantastic Four movie, and a lot of people also thought it was RDJ. Now, is that for the Council of Reed scene that could be in the Fantastic Four movie? We don't know, but all these mysteries and rumours and talking about this stuff, it's good because the Marvel community back online again, it's nowhere near up to the Infinity War and Endgame hype back in 2018, 2019, but I think by the time we get close to Doomsday, I think the hype could be freaking insanely high. I really think the hype could be back up to that level, so I hope Josh is right, because that would be freaking hype, because most people who grew up Marvel are now like early 20s to late 30s. They would all be freaking hype for the 2000. I think I'm freestyling this. Like, you know, I'm on vacation. I'm literally looking into the Caribbean coast. I've literally got the beach in front of me. You may hear some sound in the background. That's literally just the breeze from the wind. That would be freaking hype. That would be so hype if Jessica Alba rocked it up. It really would be hype, because as good as the Thunderbolts post-credit scene is, we didn't actually see any interactions with the Fantastic Four, did we? No. If they actually step out, I don't think they're going to get Chris Evans involved in the post-credit scene unless he's going to be talking. Now, this could be completely wrong. Like I say, take a pinch of salt. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm not saying it's right, but it doesn't really make much sense for Hydra, Captain America, or Doctor Doom and Chris Evans' character to interact, like I said. And obviously it would cost, Chris Evans is a pretty top tier actor in terms of the MCU. So he's going to be making a freaking Gucci, Louis Vuitton, like YSL bag. He's going to be making a huge bag at the same time. But I don't think RDJ is going to appear in the Fantastic Four movie purely because it will cost too much money. Now, actors don't do things for free, which I get it. You know, no one works for free unless it's charity work. But seeing as how much money, he's literally got his own movie, Doomsday. Secret Wars isn't necessarily his movie, but when they brought him on at San Diego Comic-Con last summer, they did literally say he's the main villain of Avengers 5 and 6, which I don't necessarily think is true. I think the Kang Beyonder is going to become, or maybe the room of Henry Cavill being the Beyonder is going to appear. Someone else is going to appear, but you know me, I love Cillian Murphy, and I still think he's a much better actor than RDJ. So I still think we should get Cillian Murphy being the actual, you know, God Emperor Doom at some point. But if this post-credit scene is real, then it's sick. So make sure to check out the Geeky Cast, because that's essentially where I got it from, his Twitter. And also the original video is Josh at the Dens of Nerds. If I can put this in the description down below, I remember. But I am away, so I did make a bunch of videos before I came away. But I am scarcely making random videos here or there. And I do think it's pretty cool to talk about this. So not my idea, came from Josh. He didn't give context, he just said the original Fantastic Four. Rumoredly, he's here and appearing in this movie. It would be cool because Chris Evans being in the movie is already going to bring hype up, but we don't know if it's true. Like I say, I always give massive disclaimers when it comes to scoopers. But when it comes from YouTubers who I know have been in the game just as long as I have, if not longer, then yeah, I say Josh is a very credible person. So like always, guys, check us out on Instagram to see the beautiful face behind the beautiful voice. Would love to hit 30,000 followers on Instagram. Check us out on the private kind of channel I've got over there. Would love to hit 1,000 members on there. That would be sick. And like always, guys, I'll catch you in another video very soon. Catch you later.